Should you rent or buy in 2023? That is the question. Hi everyone, this is Aaron Ken. I've been a real estate agent here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex for 21 years and literally helped thousands of people make that very same decision. And honestly, the decision is very simple. I would say I could end this video in 10 seconds and say, yes, you should buy. There's a joke in our industry that the best time to buy a home was yesterday, and the second best time to buy a home is today. And the reason we say that is because historically, homes have improved in value, and over the last 4 or 5 years we've seen them go crazy in value, and that might be a little bit why you're a little trepidatious in making this move to buy a home. I honestly believe rents are far outpacing our actual increases in price, and there's a couple negative factors to keep in mind when you're renting. The first thing, big con when you're renting, is you're paying 100% interest. So people have come to me over the last year and they said, oh man, interest rates have climbed up to 7% or 7.5% or 6% or whatever they were at the current time when I talked to them. And no matter what, that's still better than 100%. Because when you're renting, you're building somebody else's equity. Your landlord or the person that owns that asset, that home, condo, duplex, apartment building, you're helping them create wealth. What we want to do is help you create wealth. And the only way to do that, or the best way to do that, in my opinion, is through real estate. The second reason where renting is inferior to buying is you are stuck. You're in this endless loop of renting sometimes when you get into that prospect, because our average rates on rentals have actually outpaced homes recently. The average rental in Tarrant County in all of 2022 was $2,280. With $2,280, you can buy, with 3.5% down, you can buy a $330,000 home. In Tarrant County, that's an average home. Our average prices are right around $350,000. Every month I do a market report on what the average prices are, and you can see that in any of my videos below. And you can see this for yourself, that the rate of return on a rental is 0. Because you're continuing to fork that money over and over to the landlord and building no equity. Now, it is true that when you buy a home, the first few years of home ownership, a loan is all front stacked with interest. So you're not building a ton of equity by principal payments, but you are building equity by the home increasing in value. For instance, if you would have bought at the beginning of 2022 at that $320,000, that home today is worth $350,000. That's a pretty good rate of return. You're at about a 10% rate. We actually saw 10% up until the last month when it clicked at about 6.06%. Now, one of the factors where people were renting instead of buying is because they got priced out of the market. Pricing went crazy. Homes were selling at crazy levels. You know, you were in bidding wars and people just got burnt out. And that's completely understandable. But we're actually seeing a stronger market for the buyer right now. It is slowed down considerably. So you can actually go in and do things that you couldn't do before. Negotiate a price, get a home inspection and negotiate the repairs that should be done on that property. We shot a whole video about home inspections. Check that out because that can help you if you're starting out in this process. The third thing that it can help you with now is you can actually get things added to it like home warranties. We're a big proponent of home warranties, especially for first-time home buyers. Because typically when you buy that home, your first home, you've spent all this money as far as down payments and closing costs and inspections and furnishing the home. That's probably the time you're the most tapped out. You have the least amount of money in your bank account. So when will something go wrong? Probably at that time. It's Murphy's Law, right? So we're always a proponent of getting a home warranty, especially for first timers. And now you can actually get those included back in. We actually guarantee them when we're working with a buyer, or if we can't get the seller to pay for them, we'll buy one for you. That's how much we believe in them. The other thing that I think that you really need to consider is the market has kind of softened a bit, so you can do all these extra things. But one of the other things you need to think about is when you lock into a mortgage, Let's say it's a 30-year fixed mortgage. Whether it be FHA, conventional, VA, the only thing that really changes there is going to be your down payment and some small closing costs. Like every loan has its unique facets to it, but we'll just use a standard 30-year loan. Let's call it any kind of financing. When you lock into that, you lock into that rate for 30 years. As of today's date, you're going to be locking in around 6.3%. Well, in let's say a year, 6 months, the rate drops to 5%. What you can do is refinance that home, and now you're at 5%. Therefore, your payments are going to be much lower, and you really haven't done anything to hurt yourself as far as your equity position in the home. Your payments are just lower. I always recommend whenever somebody does refinance, and let's say their payments go from $3,000 to $2,500 on that refinance, continue to make the $3,000 payment if it doesn't just kill you and doesn't hurt you. Because now you're putting $500 every month. You're chunking it towards your principal. And what you're going to see is that principal balance is going to go way down really, really fast. And you're going to get the equitable gain out of that. Now, the only time I'd say don't consider buying a house is one, if you have poor credit and you just can't qualify for the home. The second is you have low liquid reserves. By low, I'm talking $2,000, $3,000. You should probably have enough for a minimum of 3.5% down, an FHA loan, and some extra built in there in order to absorb some costs like home inspections and earnest money and option money, which we can get into in another video. But the third thing where you shouldn't be buying a home, and this one's the least talked about, is when you're going to be moving from that home. Now, if you had bought in the hot, white hot market we had the last 3 or 4 years, you could have bought a home 1 year, sold it the next year, and still come out okay, and actually made some money in equity because the market was that hot and prices were going that crazy. If you do that today because we're in a more stable or a more flat market, you probably are going to lose money. So you want to make sure that you're staying in that home at least 2 or 3 years, or know that you're staying in this location at least 2 or 3 years so you can help build up equity that you can move to the next house. Most people stay in their first home on average about 5 to 7 years. So if that's you, congratulations, you're going to have equity in your property. So in conclusion, when's the best time to buy a home? Should you be renting? Should you be buying? You should always be buying. Unless you meet one of those 3 conditions I just talked about. You should be buying and investing in your future and building equity and building wealth. If you have a long-term lease that you just signed 2 or 3 months ago, still reach out to us. We can help you get out of that. Or we can even negotiate the seller to pay for you to get out of that. There's a lot of options we can do that maybe you haven't even considered. So please do me a great big favor and like and subscribe to this video, because it helps get this content to more people that need it, because I'm only going to give you the truth on what's happening in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Or shoot me an email, comment, or shoot me a text message as well, and I'll be glad to help you, and I'd look forward to working with you. Have a blessed day, and we'll talk to you soon.